If you haven't signed up for it already, I will of course have a link to it in the source code below. It is my referral link, so if you sign up under it, I get a little space extra, you get a little space extra, everybody wins. Keeping things moving right along, it turns out that GNOME Shell may not be available in Ubuntu 11.04. A bug on Launchpad points out that there are some changes that have been made to Natty Narwhal that have broken GNOME Shell to a point where it should not be able to work by the time 11.04 comes out, so they're actually going to blacklist it. There haven't been any official announcements from Canonical, from Mark Shuttleworth, or anything like that, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But for the time being, the best bet is that there will be a PPA coming out after 11.04 releases that will make it work. And keeping things rolling, a lot of people complain day by day that Adobe's software is not available on Linux, or the software that is available on Linux doesn't work terribly well. Well, from a story on OMG Ubuntu, an Adobe employee has said that if you want to see these things happen, if you want to see their software come to Linux, you need to go to their website and request those features. You need to request that whatever you want be ported over to Linux. However, after the story was posted, they were just flooded with requests, so now they're asking if you do want to see things ported to Linux, go to their Get Satisfaction page and say, I like this idea on whichever ideas you like. I do have to say, it would be really cool to see some of the Adobe software ported natively. It would be wonderful to have a copy of After Effects that works in Linux. Of course, I say that, I've never used After Effects before, and I've only briefly used Adobe Premiere at work, but still it would be nice to have better and other alternatives available. And speaking of some of Adobe's software that may not work terribly well on Linux, Lightspark version 0.4.5, an alternative Flash player for Linux, is now available. Now, it's not up to 100% Flash functionality, but it does add in play and pause functionality on YouTube, and it adds PowerPC support, which is something that Adobe Flash has not done. I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but if you have, leave a comment down below and let me know how it works. And let's wrap things up with some Android news. As we mentioned before, Android 2.3 Gingerbread released last week. Well, the source code is now officially available online. On a post on Google Groups, Jean-Baptiste Queru says that the Nexus S went on sale yesterday morning running Gingerbread. Just like I did for Froyo, I'm open sourcing the matching Android platform source code right after the first consumers get their hands on it. So it's very cool to see them taking an initiative and putting that code out there so the community can get their hands on it and really start working with it. And with this new version of Android, it turns out they're moving from the YAFFS, yet another Flash file system, to ext4 for their file systems. Now, the phone manufacturers will still have the option to use that YAFFS file system, or they can move to ext4. The Nexus S, for example, will be using ext4, and it's entirely possible that some applications will have to be changed just a bit to work better with the ext4 system, but hopefully this will be a performance improvement in the long run. And finally, if you haven't seen it yet, with Gingerbread, with the new version of Android, there is an entirely new keyboard. Not a huge difference, but there is a lot of extra space between the keys now that makes things a little bit easier to use. Well, the wonderful people over at XDA Forums, which is a place where you can learn about rooting your phone or adding new software to your phone, they have managed to create an APK file containing the Gingerbread keyboard that can be used on Android 2.2 or 2.1. This doesn't require rooting your device, it doesn't require changing anything, just loading up a new application like you would sideload any other application to your phone, or your tablet, or whatever else you're using. So if you'd like to check that out, or any of the other stories I've talked about, check the source code below for all of the links. But thank you so much for watching, I hope you're having a great weekend. Make sure to check out the other 2 videos I put out this week if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
And we're back, and there was something related in the news. I watched this earlier today. I downloaded it and watched it, and there were some very interesting things on here. That one thing in particular, which is with the Ubuntu 11.04, and supposedly they said in there that it whatever they did to for the software, but they broke it, and supposedly they are not going to include the GNOME shell with version 11.04. Of course, they're trying to make the new window manager Unity the default window manager, which I hate because I think Unity is more for mobile devices, laptops, tablets, and things like that. I think we need really to have the GNOME shell and GNOME desktop environment for desktop computers, but that's just me. But and another thing with the Ubuntu news I'm going to throw in there real quickly is I've been having problems with the new Flash 10.02, or at least I thought so. So I actually downgraded to version 10.1, and tell you the truth, it didn't really have any effect. So it's probably problems I'm having is probably due to something else. But what I did notice is it seems like hardware acceleration is supposedly still enabled in 10.1, because if you right click on, if you're watching a Flash video or a Flash advertisement and you choose settings, it does have a tab in there for hardware acceleration when you can either, you know, choose it or select it or not select it. So I thought that was kind of weird as well. People want Linux with a graphical interface. Well, I think you have to understand, of course, they've used Linux for years for servers, web servers, and things like that. And of course, they're trying to adopt it to everyday use, so it'll be more widely accepted. And so obviously, you got to have a graphical interface for, you know, the average user. Windows is the 60s. And Windows 7 is in the 2000s, yeah, no doubt. You like gnomes, huh? Does anybody like lawn gnomes, I guess? I guess that's where they adopted it from, but... Okay, I got another news item, and this is actually Christmas related, and it is kind of military issue related as well. Occasionally I do topics on military issues, and I think one of the things I covered was I think it was like the Missed Valor Law or something like that. I can't remember the name of it now. Actually, Scarecrow knows. You could probably throw in the chat what we were talking about. And there's some of the issues I was talking about. But this one's kind of Christmas related, and it actually has to do during World War I. It's a, you know, I've seen it a couple times. I seen it last Christmas, and I figured it'd be very good to do right before Christmas as well. And I actually got a news clip on that. So it kind of describes the Christmas truce of 1914 in World War I. And I figure I'd show that for since it's so close to Christmas.
There are many examples of truces throughout Europe's history, but none is more famous than perhaps during the First World War. In the winter of 1914, German and British soldiers spent Christmas Eve in the trenches, wading through mud, supplies, and corpses of their fallen friends. To raise their sinking morale, both armies' governments sent their troops Christmas packages and even Christmas trees. What happened next made headlines around the world. The Germans set trees on top of the trenches and lit candles. Then they began to sing carols, and though their language was unfamiliar to their enemies, the tunes were not. After a few trees were shot at, the British became more curious than belligerent and crawled forward to watch and listen. After a while, they began to sing. By Christmas morning, the no man's land between the trenches was filled with fraternizing soldiers, sharing rations and gifts, singing and, more solemnly, burying their dead between the lines. An unknown soldier penned this letter to his family. This will be the most memorable Christmas I've ever spent, or likely to spend. Since about tea time yesterday, I don't think there's been a shot fired on either side up to now. Last night, we had some decent fires going, had a few carols and songs. The Germans commenced by placing lights all along the edge of their trenches and coming over to us, wishing us a happy Christmas.
Then they had to go back to fighting.
Well, at first they didn't. I think once Christmas was over, I think it was the day after, supposedly, for a couple days, I think they didn't fight, but I think it finally went to a British soldier actually shot a German soldier, and after that, pretty much everybody started to... Excuse me, it's this Dr. Pepper. So pretty much after that, I think everybody started shooting it up again. You know, it's kind of interesting Christmas story. Let me add some more. I was going to add some more in there, but unfortunately I got it on the other monitor, which is way over here. So I might have to switch it over here. But it says something about, of course it happened right before Christmas on 1914. And supposedly, I guess around Christmas Eve, actually it was the Germans. They set up Christmas trees with candles and started singing Christmas carols. So after a while, I guess the English, of course, with I think it's the Scottish as well. Then they kind of start singing carols back, I guess. And then, of course, they had what's called no man's land because they had actually ditches on both sides, one for the Germans and the other one's for the English. So actually, after a while, they kind of met in the middle and pretty much greeted each other. And, of course, I guess you could call it fraternization, but after that. And then they started playing. They had a soccer match, and actually it was it was officiated by a German officer, and of course the Germans won. I guess he was the they traded each other's pieces of their uniform, and I think they're giving each other haircuts. But normally nowadays, actually both sides, the commanders weren't very happy with that, of course. But I thought it was kind of interesting. I don't know if that anywhere in history that happened before, maybe perhaps, but I thought that was a real interesting Christmas story to tell. So what do you think about it, Jenny? Do you think you think that would happen again in this lifetime? Well, I guess the biggest one now is probably I'm trying to think, the Middle East, and the Americans are different parts of the country are it's a mismatch, I guess, now, but. And let me actually, I think Scarecrow put some interesting stuff in there as well. The general's not pleased, especially the British generals. Well, actually, I think the German generals were not very happy with it either. From what I understand, I think they mentioned being shot for insubordination or something like that. So, from what I understand. Brought any of that good German sausage. You're starting to make me hungry now there, Scarecrow. All the brown people we seem to be blowing up these days at different holidays than our soldiers. Yeah, obviously. It all depends on what part of the country you're from, I think, as well. So, and you know what? Now, I have been asking certain people, and I even asked Chris Ace in there. He's in the chat room right now. And I kind of asked him a stupid question. I go, do you guys celebrate Christmas like we do? And it was kind of a weird question to ask.
Why? What is he?
He's from Australia. And he said, yeah, they celebrate Christmas, and I guess Canadians as well, like we do. And hi in there, Mitch. Just joined us in chat, 1955. And I'm afraid I kind of ran out of some news items, so we're going to probably have open chat for at least the next half hour or so. Okay, you lost the video. Okay. Just let you guys in chat let me know if you guys have any problems, and we'll check it out. I think JTV, hopefully it'll behave throughout this whole broadcast. I have been having a little bit of trouble, I think, with my internet, but from my company Charter. Now they changed their name now, but actually, yeah, I was gonna also bring a few more things for that as well. Let me see the Christmas truce. And actually, they kind of brought out letters. They wrote back letters each side from the Christmas truce. And let me see if I can find it in here. And probably in my luck, I can't find it. And fortunately not. I didn't save it in the right place. But actually, if you watch the video clip, it had it in there as well. So I think the countries that do celebrate Christmas differ from one. Oh, I already read that one. Yeah, well, you know what? Usually I leave it alone. Now, I think there is one instance where somebody mentioned they stopped the broadcast and rebroadcast, and it put them on a different server. I think it was Frugal Tech that said that during his broadcast. So if worse comes to worse, I'll just restart it, and hopefully that'll solve the problem.
Jamie says, you look and talk like a radio DJ.
Oh, do I? Do I sound like Howard Stern? Oh, not quite.
Yeah.
I don't have the hair for it, I think. I don't know. I guess I'm just used to it. I guess I've been doing this almost 2 years. I guess something like that. So, do I sound like a radio DJ?